For one of Disney's latest cartoons, the Ghost and Molly McGee, sometimes the most powerful force in both the living world and the ghost world can be either the connection between two besties or the love found within a quirky family.
Volunteering bonds us McGees together.
But of all the relationships found within the show, which ones are the strongest? I'm Kyle with Wicked Binge, and this is the Ghost and Molly McGee relationships, healthy to healthiest. As usual, we'll be starting with the least healthy relationships. In the case of this show, they would probably fall in the gray area under normal circumstances, and we'll be working our way up to the show's healthiest relationships. Starting at the very bottom, we have Andrea and her father, Mr. Davenport. While certainly not the worst parent and child relationship we've seen from a modern-day Disney Channel cartoon, as other shows such as Gravity Falls and The Owl House have had much worse ones when it comes to characters like Pacifica or Amity. But this particular relationship certainly toes the line, although it's made clear that Mr. Davenport does love his daughter, such as when he feels genuinely bad when he sees how upset she is at the Snowflake Festival being cancelled. These are ultimately fairly rare moments.
I'll save Christmas! Yes!
Because Mr. Davenport is so superficial and focused on monetary value, he's more likely to give her an expensive gift than an actual hug. He also disregarded her concerns about how their store's delivery app was impacting the other businesses in town. All of this makes it incredibly hard for Andrea to connect with her dad, prompting her to go out of her way to try and get his attention, or even secretly go against him in some instances. As negative as this relationship may seem, however, the slight connection that is still there makes us think that it could eventually improve. Sticking with familial relationships for a bit, next is Pete and his twin eldest siblings, Billy and Jilly. Being the focus of the episode Twin Troubles, this relationship was pretty concerning for the longest time, with Billy and Jilly essentially being bullies and Pete being desperate to impress them. Unfortunately, each jab and joke just made Pete fall in line more and more, just as he had back when he was a kid. Thankfully, once he fully realized the damage all this was doing, not just to himself, but to his family, Pete stood up for himself and made it clear he wasn't going to be Silly McGee anymore. In a twist, however, it was revealed that the twins were only making fun of Pete because they were jealous of how successful he was able to be in his adulthood. Now, some would say that perhaps Pete forgave them a bit too easily, considering all that Billy and Jilly put him through. But for what it's worth, the fact that these siblings now have a better understanding of each other will hopefully make for a stronger relationship and better interactions going forward. Coincidentally, Sharon and Grandma Nin also had a similar tension-filled relationship for the longest time. Growing up with a stern and incredibly critical mother is never easy, as shown by these two. For the longest time, Sharon felt like her mother didn't support her as much as she should have, prompting her to be dismissive with Nin and actively avoid visiting with her in person. Nin, meanwhile, would continue voicing her critiques about minor things, further adding to the frustrations they each had. Eventually, though, with a bit of pushing from Molly, Sharon and Nin finally communicated with each other and cleared up some misunderstandings. While there is still a bit of tension there, they were ultimately able to hug it out, with Nin putting the effort to be less subtle with her support and showing how much she truly loves her daughter. Moving on to the trio of Molly, Libby, and Andrea. This is actually a newer relationship, only recently having an episode focused on it in season 2. However, there was a lot of groundwork for it beforehand. Prior to Molly moving to Brighton, Andrea had made Libby a social outcast after Libby mispronounced Andrea's name when they were little kids. Though she tried to start things off on the right foot, Molly also ended up briefly getting on Andrea's bad side, because both Molly and Libby saw Andrea as just a popular girl who could easily get her own way. Neither of them really wanted to be around her. Not that we could blame them. We also couldn't exactly blame Molly for being jealous of all the not quite deserved credit that Andrea was getting for her charity projects. Eventually, though, Molly was able to understand Andrea a bit better, and even helped her save face instead of ruining her reputation.
She was just trying to get her parents' attention!
From there, things greatly improved between the three girls, with Andrea recruiting Libby's, and the rest of the town's, help in buying back the McGee's house before declaring that Molly was her best friend. Even if that wasn't quite accurate, it was still a very sweet moment. Though Libby was still a bit unsure about Andrea given their history, the two were later able to bond in the episode A Period Piece. All in all, it's just really great to see how much the relationship between these three has grown and improved. Switching over to the ghost world, next are ghostly besties Scratch and Jeff. Now admittedly, their friendship has a tendency to feel just a bit one-sided.
He's not a friend, he's more like an annoying co-worker.
For as much as Jeff tries to hang out with Scratch at the start of the series, Scratch was usually just a bit more reluctant, wanting to do things on his own and seeing Jeff as an annoying nuisance. Additionally, whenever Scratch would seek Jeff out, it was usually because it was beneficial for him, not because Scratch genuinely wanted to hang out with the guy. Thankfully, whether it be through Jeff's persistence or his loyalty, Scratch was eventually able to warm up to him, and the two seem a lot more like actual friends. They may not be the closest friends around, but much like the trio of Molly, Libby, and Andrea, the connection between these two ghostly guys truly has gotten a lot stronger. Next is another Scratch relationship, that being the newly found friendship between him and Libby. Considering how important Molly is to both of them, these two actually started out as rivals. Once they finally met, of course. To them, there could only be one best friend. Once more, they tended to find each other annoying at best, making it even harder for them to find common ground. Thankfully, once the tensions were settled and a new friendship dynamic was established, Libby and Scratch went from simply tolerating each other to actually liking each other and respecting one another's skills. We've seen them both work together, such as in Season 2 when they both had to work to protect the bookstore that Libby's mother owns. And even with their rough start, it's safe to say that these days there is more than just their friendship with Molly connecting them. Reaching the only other sibling relationship on our list, let's talk about Molly and Daryl. Considering how archetypical Daryl is, being a troublemaker and prank-loving brother, you probably would have expected more of a sibling rivalry between these two. To be fair, we do get a bit of this, such as in A Very Hungry Ghost, where they're competing in who can make the most dumplings. Outside of that though, there really isn't much friction between them. Being the eldest sibling, Molly will typically try to be a good influence while also encouraging Daryl to not be so mischievous, though Daryl usually rolls his eyes at that.
You ready for some consequence-free pranks?
But while they may not always see eye to eye, it's made clear that they each have each other's backs. Molly loves her brother for who he is, even when he does get in trouble, and Daryl is always there helping Molly with her big plans. The two overall are just incredibly close and show that you don't necessarily need to have a ton in common with your sibling to still have a good relationship with them. From siblings to surprise additions, next up is Scratch and the McGee family. In general, it's really sweet when you think about just how much Scratch has been able to bond with all of the McGees, not just Molly. While the McGees were naturally just a bit freaked out about Scratch when they first saw him, they actually adjusted to him quite well, much to Scratch's surprise and slight disturbance. Although Scratch briefly only saw the McGees as a source of food for him, he slowly but surely started to bond with each of the family members. While he can sometimes be frustrated with a family dynamic, occasionally prompting him to try and get out of chores or helping out, Scratch still does his part. In some cases, like when Pete broke his arm, he'll even go beyond the call of duty, showing just how much he truly cares about his new family.
The things I do for this family.
The McGees, in turn, are always shown to be grateful for his help and are very protective of him, even if they can sometimes be annoyed by his bad habits or gluttonous nature. They're all freaking out when they think Scratch has been stolen away by the Ghost Council, and at the start of Season 2, they're even willing to keep their distance from the Chen family for the sake of protecting Scratch. Like Scratch said, the McGees made his house feel like a home, and for the McGees, their forever home isn't complete without Scratch. Entering our top 5, we have our newest friendship and possible romance from the show, Molly and Ollie. It's sort of funny that in a show about ghosts, it's almost supernatural just how perfect these two seem for each other. Both Molly and Ollie are focused on volunteerism and making people happy whenever possible, and because of this, they instantly seem to gain an admiration for each other. Unfortunately for Ollie and his family, part of their idea of making people happy is capturing and eliminating ghosts so that they can no longer scare the living.
I won't stand by and let innocent book lovers be haunted.
While Molly still likes Ollie for who he is, she chooses to try and stay away from him for the sake of her ghost BFF. There's still hope for these two, however, as we see when Ollie finds out about Scratch. While he feels a bit betrayed, he chooses not to reveal Molly's secret to his family, still caring more about the girl he likes than his family's mission, at least for the time being. We don't know if these two will ultimately find a way for their relationship to work, but considering how thoughtful Ollie still is of Molly and how much they have in common, there is a pretty good chance. Moving along from a young crush, crush, we now have the show's main romantic relationship, Sharon and Pete. As much as Molly and Ollie show the importance of having things in common, you've gotta love the opposites attract couples. Sharon can be a bit more on the tough side, while Pete is a bit more emotional and goofy. They each have their own strengths as well as their own struggles, but when they're together, they're truly able to bring out the best in each other. Pete is able to add that extra bit of fun into Sharon's life, while Sharon is able to help keep Pete grounded whenever the bills pile up or things go wrong. These two always choose to lean on each other and work as a team instead of trying to blame one another.
This is a family problem, and we have to face it together.
They also deeply care about each other and sympathize when they see each other struggling with their respective sides of the family. Really, the only so-called negative moment that we've seen with their relationship was when Sharon chose to lie for years about enjoying the anniversary cake that Pete always made for her. Though Pete was a bit hurt by this, one little white lie can hardly compare to what is a stable and incredibly sweet marriage. Earning the bronze medal of healthiness is the relationship between Molly and her parents. Just like how Sharon and Pete break the typical mold when it comes to animated couples, they're also shining examples of animated parents, whether they're giving verbal support as they cheer their daughter on, give advice to help Molly figure out how to solve a problem, or even going out of their way to participate in the plan themselves. These two always have Molly's happiness in mind, encouraging her whenever possible. As Molly says, they've given her everything that she could ever need. Naturally, Molly is incredibly grateful for this support, and is shown giving it back tenfold, cheering up both her mom and her dad when they're shown to be struggling, or upset about something not working out. Not because they need her to, but because she wants to. Needless to say, there's a lot of love to be found here. But real quick, before we get to our last entry, if you're enjoying this video and you want to do us a huge favor, hit that subscribe button and notification bell. We ask because we'd really appreciate the help in getting to our next milestone, and we have a ton more content in the works that we can't wait to share with you. For our silver medal of healthiness, we're giving it to human BFFs Molly and Libby. Next to one other friendship, which we'll get to in a moment, these two are easily the heart of the show. It's another case of opposites attract, with Molly being so bubbly and eager that she's able to help push Libby out of her comfort zone, all while Libby not only keeps her grounded but also forces her to sometimes realize how far she's taking things. What's more, Libby also pushes Molly to not only listen to others, but to also be more honest with her feelings, even the negative ones. Just like with Pete and Sharon, they just bring out the best in each other. Working together, they're able to accomplish a ton, all while having fun and being the light in each other's lives.
Deep down, you know you have a talent, and you want to share it.
Sometimes mistakes are made, like when Molly lied about Libby being good at singing, or when Molly took over Libby's bat mitzvah, wanting to give her bestie the party Molly thought she deserved instead of just asking Libby what she wanted. Thankfully though, these minor instances of conflict have only made their friendships grow even stronger as the show's gone on. Finally, our gold medal of healthiness is going to the titular duo of Molly and Scratch. Honestly, what's not to love about these two? It really is nice to see that despite the two of them being cursed together in the first season, that curse never really played much of a factor. Even at the start of the series, when Scratch was being aloof and reluctant about hanging out with his new forever friend, Molly never really had to force him to hang out with her. All their differences and minor quibbles with each other aside, they were able to find ways to have fun with each other, quickly bonding to the point of being protective of one another. Both Scratch and Molly will go out of their way to help each other out, with Scratch even saving Molly's life on a couple of occasions. Even when they argue or disagree, there's never been an instance of this truly taking a toll on their friendship, and they're always able to work it out, simply because they truly do care about each other that much. They're the stars of their show, and we really can't think of a better friendship within said show than that of Molly McGee and her ghostly BFF. But let us know in the comments section which relationship is your favorite. Be sure to hit that notification bell and binge more of our videos. But most importantly, stay wicked.